Hi, I'm Mary with the City of Temple Terrace. As part of our Celebrate What's Next campaign, we're asking the community, what's next for Temple Terrace? The city is in the process of updating our comprehensive plan, and the first step is listening to you.
Hi, I'm Yanika Mills with the Hillsborough County City-County Planning Commission. The Planning Commission helps guide long-term planning across Hillsborough County and its 3 cities, Temple Terrace, Tampa, as well as Plant City, and works with each jurisdiction to update their comprehensive plans over time. Temple Terrace last updated its plan in 2016, and for this update, we will work with the community to define a shared vision for what Temple Terrace should grow to be like over the next 20 years. This plan helps to guide decisions about things like housing, transportation, parks, infrastructure, and protecting the character of the city.
I'm Fatima, and I'll be working with the Planning Commission as part of this community visioning process. Over the next few months, you'll see us all over Temple Terrace, at existing events, at gathering spots, at the library and rec center, because we want to create as many opportunities as possible for you to make your voice heard. We'd love to hear about what it is that makes Temple Terrace special. What do you love about it, and what would you like to see in the next 20 years? You can learn more by visiting the project website at bit.ly/Temple Terrace Vision. You can participate right away by taking the survey, you can submit public comment, and you can sign up for updates to stay connected.
I'm Sam, a Temple Terrace resident and student in the Urban and Regional Planning Program at USF. You'll see students like me helping with outreach and surveys throughout the community. I'm excited to hear from residents and be a part of shaping the future of the place we call home.
Hi, I'm Mary with the City of Temple Terrace.
Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the March 3rd meeting of the Temple Terrace City Council. I can't believe it's March already. I'd like to remind everybody to please silence your electronic devices. Check mine to be sure. There we go. If you would, please stand and join me in the invocation and the pledge. Lord, we pray tonight for everyone affected by the events in Iran. We pray for the safety of our U.S. service members as well as Iranian people caught in harm's way. May there be a quick end to the hostilities. We ask for your blessings upon our meeting tonight and thank you for the many blessings we receive each day. We ask for blessings upon all believers tonight as they celebrate Ramadan and prepare to celebrate Passover and Easter. May their celebrations be marked by mutual understanding and respect. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, for those of you who don't often join our council meetings, we have a fairly recent tradition the past few years that we begin each meeting with a interesting or fun historical or just interesting fact about the city or the region or recently the state. We keep expanding. Pretty soon we'll be talking about Alabama, but tonight that duty falls on Vice Mayor Chambers.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, the topic I have for this evening is River Hills Park, which is a park behind River Hills Elementary School. But before talking about that park, I want to talk about this Sunday in Woodmont Park is the spring market run by the Garden Club. It's a great event. Woodmont, along with the First Fairway of the Golf and Country Club, is the location for many events in Temple Terrace now. Events like the 4th of July, Art en Blanc, Arts Festival, Brewfest, Winter Wonderland, and others. But that's only been recent in the last maybe 10 or so years. In the 80s through the 2000s, all these events were held at River Hills Park. It was the main park and the location of a lot of our special events. River Hills Park is the site of 4th of July, Riverfest, and the Arts Festival back in the day. Now, before the 80s, River Hills Park was a nice piece of property, but it was mostly unimproved. In the early 80s, especially in 1984, the gazebo, which is down in the park, was built, and that was done with donation of funds and construction from Bob and Ann Simmons and their construction company. The gazebo lived a very good life until it was caught on fire which was started in a trash can next to the gazebo in 2023, and then it was rebuilt the next year. At the same time the gazebo was started construction, the Women's Club started a project, the boardwalk that's there now. And that project started very simply in 2024 as a bridge over the little inlet that's there now. That was the first thing. Then the Women's Club started the boardwalk project, and they funded it through selling routed boards. Your name's on the boards down there. It's $25 for the board. I don't know what it is now. The program still goes on. Then it was very short boardwalk too. In 1990, the boardwalk was extended by 340 feet to the west of the bridge and 140 feet to the east of the bridge, and that was in 1990. And the rest of the boardwalk, as we know it today, was finished in 1998. So the boardwalk was rebuilt again in 2018, and it continues to be a beautiful walk along the Hillsborough River. In 1996, the city and the school district of Hillsborough County entered into an agreement to jointly fund a playground at River Hills Park. That playground was because at that time the schools were not allowed to have playgrounds in some of their schools, so we entered into agreement. The school children could go to the playground at River Hills, and of course our citizens got a playground also. In 2012, the playground was rebuilt to an accessible playground, which is called Clouds of Hope. This playground is currently being rebuilt right now with the same emphasis on accessibility as the original Clouds of Hope playground was. And also at this same time, there are plans to eliminate the access road that goes from the boat ramp to the interior of River Hills Park. That's going to be eliminated, and there'll be additional parking spaces which are much needed along the entrance drive of the boat ramp to get easier access to the playground and the little shelter that's there. So the park's somewhat coming back. This last centennial year, we had two big events down there at River Hills Park. The River Jam, which is a signature event of Centennial, and Paws in the Park. So hopefully more events will take place down at River Hills Park in the future. So that was it. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Vice Mayor. So all of those things happened during your time with Leisure Service?
Unfortunately, yes.
So you remember all of those?
I do, yes.
Very good. Okay.
I do. And I told Carl I wasn't going to say it, but he's looking like, but a lot of that, the routering of the boardwalk, first the director, Ken Boyd, and I did the routering, laying on boardwalk hour after hour in there, so.
Why am I not surprised to hear that? So,
Yeah.
Very good. Well, thank you so much. We have a couple of proclamations today, this evening to do. The first one is for Bike Month, and I see we have our Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee Chair, Brent Buffington, is here, along with apparently some of your colleagues, unless they just happen to be wearing the same shirt. So come on up to the podium, Mr. Buffington, and you guys can come up too if you like. No, they're not doing it. Our solidarity only goes so far. And the proclamation reads, whereas for more than a century the bicycle has been a utilitarian, economical, environmentally sound, and effective means of personal transportation, recreation, and fitness. City of Temple Terrace encourages the use of bicycles as a means of transportation and recognizes bicyclists as legitimate roadway users. City of Temple Terrace encourages the increased use of bicycles, benefiting all citizens by improving air quality, reducing traffic congestion and noise, decreasing the use of and dependence upon finite energy sources, and fostering exercise. City of Temple Terrace promotes safe and responsible bicycling and is committed to incorporating the development of bicycle facilities in the vision for revitalizing the city. In fact, we're going to hear more about that a little later on in the evening. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim March 2026 as Bike Month. And so, Mr. Buffington, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, Mayor Ross, council members, city staff, thank you for this proclamation and for your continued support of cycling in Temple Terrace. On behalf of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, who showed up here as well, I'm proud to accept this recognition of Bike Month. For us, this isn't just about recreation, it's about transportation choice, safety, connectivity, and building a city where people of all ages and abilities feel comfortable moving around outside of a car. I want to encourage residents to join Mayor Ross and everyone else joining this Friday for Bike with the Mayor. It's going to be down at the Family Recreation Center. I believe they're taking off at 8 a.m. in the morning. So whether you ride every week or if you haven't been on a bike in years, it's a great opportunity to experience our city alongside others. Thank you for your continued support for a healthier and more connected Temple Terrace.
Thank you, Mr. Buffington.
Bring them, everyone else up for the photo.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
They got your back, don't they? Thanks for coming. Thank you.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Thanks for coming out. Next, we have a proclamation recognizing Ramadan. We have a guest, Dr. Mubarak, is here. Would you like to come to the podium, sir?
Yes.
Good evening.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone here, and very thankful for this recognition. It's a month of, to me.
Let me read it first, and then I'll let you.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So the proclamation is, whereas freedom of religion holds the distinction as a cherished right and foundational value upon which the laws and ethics of the United States are based. Enriched by the unparalleled diversity of its residents, the city of Temple Terrace takes great pride in recognizing individuals who express their religious freedom in varied cultural traditions. Islam is the second largest religion in the world, and there are millions of Muslim Americans, both immigrants and native-born, of diverse backgrounds and beliefs. Temple Terrace is home to a large Muslim community. For the followers of the Islamic faith, Ramadan is the holiest month of the Islamic calendar and is regarded as a time for spiritual reflection, solidarity with the less fortunate, and the bridging of differences between people over a shared commitment to faith. Now, I, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do recognize the history and contributions of Muslims in Temple Terrace through the celebration of Ramadan and Muslim Heritage Month. So, Dr. McGreer, welcome. Good evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I'm glad for this proclamation. I've been a member of many diversity councils and throughout in my Florida and before Florida. Personally, I can tell you, I call Ramadan my own spiritual boot camp, where I force myself to change habits. It's a beautiful thing. We exchange greetings with neighbors. In fact, I live in New Tampa, and we just had an event. We invited all the neighbors from all faiths to an iftar dinner at sunset, and it was a beautiful event. So I'm looking forward to more interaction, more with everyone, where we all seek to make this country better and better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mubarak. Thanks for being here.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Final proclamation is for Flood Awareness Week, and our building inspector, Dallas Foss, is going, I believe, to accept this. Dallas, if you want to come to the podium, please. Have we done this one in the past? I don't remember this one.
Not since I've been here.
Okay. Flood Awareness. I'm not sure if this is good or bad. So anyhow, we'll take it from here. If it floods next week, though, we're looking for you. So, as whereas the city of Temple Terrace has experienced severe weather in the past in the form of extreme rainfall or tropical systems events resulting in flooding of the Hillsborough River. and this flooding has caused damage and flood losses to homes and buildings in all areas, whether they are high-risk flood hazard areas or low moderate risk flood zones. The City of Temple Terrace is a voluntary participant in the National Flood Insurance Program that provides residents with the opportunity to protect themselves against flood loss through the purchase of flood insurance at reduced insurance premium rates, as well as setting higher regulatory standards to reduce the flood risk and potential flood damage to their property. The reduction of loss of life and property damage can be achieved when appropriate flood preparedness, control, and mitigation measures are taken before a flood. Public education and awareness of potential weather hazards and methods of protection are critical to the health, safety, and welfare of residents. The Florida Floodplain Managers Association have declared the week of March 9th through 15th, 2026 as Flood Awareness Week to promote awareness and increase knowledge of flood risk, the availability of flood insurance, flood protection methods, and how to prepare for emergencies. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Temple Terrace, do hereby proclaim March 9th through 15th, 2026 as Flood Awareness Week. Mr. Foss, would you like to say a few words?
The program, which is your CRS rating system, the proclamation and other things provide us with additional points to possibly get a larger discount on insurance for the community through the flood systems. So this, as well as there's information posted at the rec centers, the library, and here in City Hall to get the information out to the community.
Well, we're very fortunate, as you know, to be on the Middle River, which is between the bypass canal to the north of us and the dam to the south of us. We're pretty controlled here in the Middle River, but as we saw with Milton, we do have areas of the city that are in jeopardy, even with those controls.
Even with the community, your flood insurance says you're not in a flood zone. You're in one anywhere in the state of Florida. Therefore, you can still apply for and get insurance, the flood insurance, because your homeowner's policy will not cover water damage from the flooding areas. It's a reduced rate for that for the home. So,
where could residents find more information about this if somebody was listening and they're interested in that?
you can go onto FEMA's website and look at the NFIP program, and it'll come up on there, how to apply and everything.
Okay. Seems odd to be talking about floods when we have a drought right now. It hasn't rained in 6 years, but it'll be upon us very quickly. And so, yeah. Well, thank you, Mr. Foss, for letting us know.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Next, we have a presentation from our TPO friends concerning the Temple Terrace Multimodal Trail Network Plan. Alvaro Galbondon. I'm sorry I'm butchering that, Alvaro. He is a consultant here for the TPO to present our plan. Thank you.
Yes, hi, my name's Alvaro Gabaldon with Benesh, consultant working with the Hillsborough TPO on this study for Temple Terrace. I use this, right? Yeah, okay, great. All right, so I spoke with you all about this plan a couple months ago, but for the sake of viewers at home and the public, we'll start from the top, and I'll just highlight the new things for the council. So this study was a task from the Hillsborough TPO to take a look at the city of Temple Terrace. So we looked at the network within the city's boundaries for opportunities to increase multimodal connectivity. Multimodal means different modes of transportation. So when we say that word, we're talking about people walking, biking, generally using vehicles other than cars. And so when we look within the city's boundaries, we're looking for opportunities to increase connectivity. And when we say that, we're looking for ways to help people get to where they want to go. So in order to do that, we held a public workshop, we had a web survey, we spoke with stakeholders within the community, organizations such as Florida College, the Hillsborough CIP staff, your Temple Terrace BPAC, and your own city staff to get an idea of the environment and where some of these opportunities were. So this was the project's life cycle. I mentioned some of these things just now, but when we opened up this project, the first step we took was to review existing studies and plans that had come before us. So there's a number of studies that provide a lot of interesting information and some of those opportunities that I keep mentioning. For example, the Florida Department of Transportation recently did a 56th Street corridor study. There's a lot of really great insight on Temple Terrace's portion of 56th Street particularly, especially when it comes to crossing 56th Street, which is a big challenge to connectivity, we'll say, in the city of Temple Terrace. From there, we took some of that preliminary research and we presented what we thought was important to those public stakeholders. So we held a workshop, we identified some of those high impact connections. So for example, like how can we get people from a school to a park to a neighborhood road that is not an arterial road, a very busy road. And then we took that information to the Temple Terrace Fire Department's open house, which if I'm remembering correctly, was in October of last year. From there, we broke down these insights into an analysis of segments of your network, your road network within the city's boundaries, and we provided recommendations and cost and feasibility observations about these recommendations for each of these segments. And finally, we're here doing the world tour of the presentation. This is my second time speaking before you. We're going to the TPO's committees. Yesterday, we presented to TAC, Technical Advisory Committee. Tomorrow, we'll be speaking with the Citizens Advisory Committee, and ultimately, we'll be going to the TPO board and asking for them to accept this study. So, like I said, when we began this study, we begin with sort of a lay of the land phase. We call that existing conditions. So as part of that, we gathered publicly accessible GIS data, we look at land use data, and of course we gather public comment. These are just 3 of the maps that are in that chapter of the report. There are many other maps, but just wanted to give an example of the sort of things we're looking at. The map all the way to the left with the bright blue lines are the existing sidewalks. We showed those extending out beyond the city just to show how you could potentially, walk to USF or connect out through the city. But you can see that there's a good amount of sidewalk connectivity within some of those neighborhoods throughout the city. And then, of course, you have sidewalks along those busy arterial roads. Notably, when you go down south to the parks, though, there's less sidewalks on those neighborhood roads. And then the middle map is showing existing bike and trail infrastructure. So you can see these purple segments are mostly the arterial roads that bisect and segment your city. You can see Fletcher, Fowler, Temple Terrace Highway, and 56th Street providing the most cohesive bike and trail existing infrastructure. And those are also the busiest and fastest roads in this area. So it's unfortunate that the majority of that infrastructure that exists today is on sort of the most stressful experience for a non-automotive person transporting themselves through Temple Terrace. And then the map all the way to the right is a land use map, just highlighting the areas that your own comprehensive plan and some of the land use plans that the city has, how they describe these pieces of land. So obviously the 56th Street corridor is very important to you all. The downtown CRA is bisected by the 56th Street corridor. So, we take that into account when we made our recommendations and ultimately when we proposed a visionary trail that I'll talk about in a couple slides. So I mentioned going to the Temple Terrace Fire Department's open house with some information for the public. The board with all the multicolored stickers is basically a survey where we ask the public to pick between 2 different alternatives for a means of transporting yourself through a segment of the city. So we took that big map that you can see all the way to the right and we chopped it into pieces and we just provided a simple option. Do you prefer A or B or C? when you transport yourself through this area. So that really illuminated a lot of local knowledge about where some of the slower speed roads are. And for example, to me, a neighborhood road, I just make some planning level assumptions where, okay, it's a residential road. There's probably not a lot of traffic, but there were a lot of people who provided a lot of valuable observations about where people are cutting through from Fowler, where there just tends to be, for whatever reason, just increased vehicular traffic in what seemingly is just a normal residential road. So it was really great to formalize that local knowledge through this activity. This is just a summary of basically all of our engagement. So I've mentioned that we did a web survey. That was our very first step. We gathered around 120 total responses through this survey that was conducted through the TPO's website. It was also disseminated through the City of Temple Terrace's social media and newsletters and that sort of thing. Some interesting insights that we got from that is a lack of safe routes is the major preventative reason that people don't walk or bike more, and people would like to see more connections to parks, shopping, and neighborhoods, which is a pretty standard, I think, response whenever you ask somebody like, why don't you walk more? Well, it's not safe. And where do you want to go? Well, I want to go to the amenities that are in my neighborhood. So, but of course, applying that to the city specifically, you get those unique recommendations that are later on in the report. So I mentioned speaking with stakeholders. That included staff from HART, staff from your own city departments, Temple Terrace BPAC, and Hillsborough County Transportation Planning, CIP. That conversation really illuminated a lot of opportunities for regional connectivity. You have the bypass canal trail that's coming, that's to your east. You have USF and Mosey with a lot of redevelopment happening to your west. And of course, you have a lot of HART ridership along 56th Street. So there was a lot of great insight from that discussion. And then I keep talking about the fire department open house, but it was actually like one of, I think, the best public engagement things I've been a part of. There was like a ton of families there. Like it was really a high bang for your buck event to attend and ask people about these sorts of things. So with all of that information, our next phase was to analyze the road segments. So now that we've done our preliminary research, we've done our public engagement. So now when we look at your street network, what are we looking for? So the goal of this study was to increase connectivity, right? So for multimodal users. So generally, the strategy is to avoid high stress, high speed roads. That's typically where you see a lot more of the injuries and fatalities for multimodal users. So that's why you see a lot of segments and alternatives here where we're providing different ways of going north and south and east and west in your city and trying to avoid those arterial roads, Fletcher, Fowler, 56, and Bullard Parkway, wherever we can. Obviously, those are important roads that have destinations on them, but perhaps there's alternatives for making a longer connection through the city without using them. So all of the blue segments on this map, they each have been scored on a matrix that we've provided. So on this matrix, there are criteria. So some of those criteria include proximity to a park, regional connectivity opportunities. So like, can you get out to the bypass canal on this piece of road? Speed limit, posted speed limit, proximity to school, et cetera, et cetera. So on this matrix, you'll be able to see these segments with a score in each of these criteria, and then they're sequentially ranked. And so it's really, I'd say, rudimentary way of just prioritizing where there's the highest, I keep saying highest impact for you to improve some of these roads. So, for example, a high scoring road would be perhaps like where somebody would be able to connect to the bypass canal, there would be a school on it, somehow the speed limit would also be less than 20 miles per hour, but that's incongruous because you're going to be going out to the bypass on Bullard Parkway. But I'm just giving you an example of like the perfect segment. So, so each of these blue lines is scored and sequentially prioritized in our analysis. So after doing that analysis, we have also provided recommendations for how to improve each of these segments. So this is just an example of the toolbox that we pulled from. So when you look at that list, you may see like segment 1A it has these scores for these criteria, and these are the recommended treatments that could improve its connectivity. And in this sense, it's really like, how do we improve safety? How do we improve the cohesiveness of traveling through that segment to these destinations? So you can see there's a variety of different bicycle lane treatments that we've recommended throughout the city, depending on the context of the segment. So that spans anywhere from a shared use lane to a completely separated bicycle lane. There's traffic calming treatments that can be considered, like speed cushions, chicanes, raised crosswalks are also provide sort of like a double whammy, where you're improving a crosswalk for a pedestrian, but you're also controlling speed because it's basically like a speed bump. And signage and all sorts of other crosswalk treatments. But each of those segments will have some of these recommendations for them. So these maps illustrate some of the segments I'm speaking about. So for example, the purple segments are segments that we said should have shared lane markings. And the map next to it, the green segments, are segments that we said should have some sort of traffic calming treatment. There's going to be overlap there between the segments, but we're taking each treatment as a thematic organization tool. Sidewalk gaps, where we think it's important to fill in some of these gaps because it could help people get from a residential area to a busy commercial area, or some of these redevelopment projects that are happening on 56th Street, or to a park, to a school, that sort of thing. And then the red segments are shared use paths. So that would be sort of like the not a shared use lane. A shared use path would be a separated path. So you would be separated from automobile traffic, but people would walk and bike together on the same path. I spoke about segment prioritization, but just to illustrate that data in another manner, we split those segments into 4 buckets, basically tiers. So you can see that the green segments had the highest scores, the red segments had the lowest. So really, again, I explained sort of how those scores were working. Those green segments are where we think there's the highest impact for improvement. So I think that's 122nd in the northwest corner. So, I presume that the score was so high on that segment because there's a dog park there. There is right-of-way that you own that is a part of the dog park, but it's not currently utilized as part of the dog park. It's just part of the whole piece of land. It probably got some nice points for connecting out to USF if it were to be improved. And then it's within proximity of the Fowler mid-block crossing to the south. So that's just an example of why that segment may have scored so highly. Temple Terrace Highway, you can see, is green, and I think the score is very high there because you're connecting out to the bypass canal, and there's existing bicycle lanes there. So you can see, like, they're both tier 1 segments, but for very different reasons. It's just another way of providing a perspective to this list of segments that we've analyzed for you. Another part of this task was, okay, well, we've scored and analyzed all these segments. How can we put them together into sort of like a cohesive trail, if you will? How can we get like the most commercial, the most parks or schools or places that people have just said that they have liked to bike and walk in our workshop? How can we put that together into like a circuit and utilize existing infrastructure as much as we could? So you can see basically the River Hills with its existing bike lane is a huge foundation of this vision for a trail that we're showing in the red. Those dashed red lines are those alternatives that we asked the public about. I think they represent, again, sort of more less of an existing condition right now and more of a vision. So there's right-of-way that's currently available where you could put a separated path on instead of being on improving the road. You could have a completely multimodal path. So that's just an example of what's being conveyed here. But yeah, this route is 8.5 miles. You touch on 13 city parks, 3 schools, Florida College. You're going through the downtown CRA. You're going through the Civic Center area that we're currently in right now. So yeah, we really think that it could it just is a vision for how you could make the best use of all these amenities and improvements and some existing infrastructure that you already have. I mentioned regional connectivity being a theme throughout this process. It was a major topic of discussion with the stakeholder group, but also with the public, and likewise when we went to the TPO committees, there was a lot of questions about regional connectivity. So just wanted to highlight some of those regional, I think, amenities or big attractions that are available through connecting through Temple Terrace. So you have Lettuce Lake Park to the north. You have the bypass canal to the east, Mosey, USF we mentioned. There's a lot of employment in the northwest corridor with the hospitals that are up by USF as well. And then Druid Hills Road eventually becomes Serena Drive, which is maintained by the city of Tampa. But that road connects to a lot of the city of Tampa's improved multimodal projects. There's a park on Serena Drive. So these are just some of the things that we're highlighting on this slide and in the report. I mentioned, the final step here is that we did a cost and feasibility analysis. It's a planning level analysis, and so when I say that, it's like we take the average cost per mile of what a bike lane costs other jurisdictions over the last couple of years, and we just do the arithmetic here. So this is not a design invoice or it's a planning level sort of average. So for the entire report, if I take every single segment with every single recommendation in this report, the range of that cost estimate is $12 to $18 million. The red, doing the same thing, but just for the red route, it's $4.5 to $6.5 million. So I can say, a lot of the these these totals, I guess, these sums are being accounted for when you look at sidewalk gaps. So sidewalk gaps for the total recommendation in the report account for almost 30% of that 12 to 18 million range. So sidewalks are pretty expensive, but when you look at something like traffic calming that we've suggested, that represents around 14% of that sum. So we have these breakdowns in the report, and I would say they're less there to be a decision-making tool. I think the prioritization and the planning research we've done on the segments is really what the value of the study is. This is ancillary referential information. So, for example, the next step would be to design and study what the engineering of these treatments would cost, and I think that would illuminate, what the implementation of these things would be like. Next steps, we've basically finished the report. We're going to the TPO committees. We're here tonight, and eventually we'll be going to the TPO board this week, where they will take action on accepting the study. We've been gathering feedback throughout all that time, and we're still available to make edits to the report and answer any questions. But we're wrapping up here essentially. So. But yeah, that concludes the presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Council members, further questions?
I have a question.
Councilmember Fernandez.
So one, I just want to make sure that as part of your analysis, you are looking at the places where Hillsborough County Hillsborough County basically controls Bullard Parkway, and the state of Florida controls Fowler and Fletcher, and so whatever improvements that they might be making as part of their multimodal trails into parts of Tampa and unincorporated Hillsborough County that are around us, was that part of your consideration when you looked at ours?
Yes. Yeah. So I guess there's several ways to answer this. So when we scored those roads that are not maintained by the city of Temple Terrace, they were scored based on their current state. So if 56th Street currently, like, the bicycle lane doesn't extend through your whole city boundary, so it didn't get the full points. But to answer that question in a different way, this topic is also touched on in our existing plans review, where we point out opportunities that other studies have identified by these stakeholders that you mentioned. So, for example, FDOT has identified that 56th Street has potential for a mid-block crossing, right? And so our study is calling out that there's an opportunity here for the city of Temple Terrace to advocate for that mid-block crossing, because FDOT essentially said it can go anywhere between Fowler and Bullard. You know, like those intersections are suitable for this. And that's the extent of their study. So we're calling that out to you as an opportunity to advocate or coordinate with your peer stakeholders and provide a vision for what they've recommended. So, so the segments were analyzed based on their current state, and then we have also taken into consideration what all these other partners have been studying on their own roads.
Okay, and then this is for city staff, and within the city itself, adding any sidewalks or adding any of the suggested traffic calming that would make this project more user-friendly. Can that be done or funded using any kind of gas taxes? Or how would we pay for something like this?
Yes, I believe you could. You could fund some of that through gas taxes, but we've got a lot of obligations for a gas tax right now in terms of repaving and things like that over. So there's only so much gas tax revenue or fuel revenue in general, and so there's a lot of different competing demands for it. So this would have to be a conversation we'd have with the council in terms of priority setting, and having you give us direction if you'd like to pursue something like this. I think what the gentleman showed in one of his last slides was the notion of trying to go after federal and state grants to offset some of these costs. I think that would be much more in line with this type of a project than trying to fund it completely with the revenues we receive that allow us to do a lot of different things in this community that there are needs for.
That's it.
If I could just add some context to that, also, when we made these recommendations, we're really hoping that you all find some synergies between the routine maintenance and obligations that you already have and some of these treatments that we've recommended. So if you're repaving a road, there's an opportunity to paint a bike lane differently or redistribute the width of the road. I don't want to write checks that I can't cash. I'm not an engineer, but I'm just saying that when you do look at your routine maintenance, there is an opportunity to look at the menu we've created for you to find some synergies. So hopefully that's how this is used.
Councilmember Schisler?
It's a very, very short question. Regarding the sidewalk criteria, were you looking at requiring sidewalks on both sides of the street in your analysis? Like for Druid Hills has sidewalk on one side.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so you went on both sides.
Well, so in our analysis in terms of scoring,
That's what I'm talking about.
like a road that had sidewalks on both sides would score higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I was just curious on that.
Yeah.
Other questions? Councilmember Kravitz?
Just want to say very much thank you for reaching out to the community as much as you did, getting the multiple streams of feedback. Obviously, hundreds of people responded to you, and I think there's a lot of value in there. I think it was wonderful that you did that.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
So just before we move on for the public watching, I want to squash the Facebook rumors right here. When we first started this project, we implemented a Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee who served us very well. We asked them to look at some trails that we could connect the rec center, the library, City Hall, the parks. Somehow this has grown, and so the TPO has done this study. Thank you very much. But nobody on this council or the previous council that commissioned this ever contemplated spending $18 million of your money to build this. And so I just want to put that out there right now that this could change. Somebody could bring it up. But right now, there is no intention to spend $15 to $18 million of your tax dollars to build speed humps and bike trails. So this was a study done by the consultant for the TPO, given to us. There's things that we can take away from this and perhaps integrate under the with our engineering staff working with the Temple Terrace BPAC, there may be some things we can do here with pavement paint and things like that to facilitate what we're trying to do here. But I just want everybody to understand that nobody up here has said, because I know what everybody's thinking, oh my God, you're going to you want us to vote for a bond, and now we got PFAS issues we're going to need $30 million to fix, and now you're wanting to build $18 million worth of trails. That's not what we're talking about here, so thank you. Okay. Next, we have an appointment to the Historic Preservation Board. There's one regular appointment. City received an application for appointment from Janine Correll. Janine is currently an alternate member, and is Janine here? I do not see her. Council, if it's acceptable, is there a motion?
Sure. Move to appoint Janine Correll to the Historic Preservation Board for the term of November 7th, 2025 through November 7th, 2027.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays? Thank you very much. Next, we have an appointment to the Riverwatch Task Force. There's a member vacancy on the Riverwatch Task Force. The city received one application for appointment from Jeremy Bullion. Is Mr. Bullion here tonight? Okay, if not, council members, if acceptable, is there a motion?
Move to approve the appointment of Jeremy Bullion as a member of the Riverwatch Task Force for a term extended from March 7, 2026 to March 7, 2029.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion of the appointment? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Next, approval of the February 17th City Council minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes, and if so, is there a motion?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Is there discussion or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Minutes are adopted. Next are persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. We don't have a consent agenda tonight. So there are requests to address the mayor and council on the little table in the back of the room. We ask that members of the public please complete the form, give it to the city clerk to the end of the dais. We have a 30-minute time limit for this section of the meeting, at which time, if we don't have enough time, we suspend the public comment. We move through the rest of the agenda, and then we resume the public comment at the end of the meeting. We have not had to do that in several years. I just like to read that so that people are aware of that. There's a 3-minute time limit imposed on all speakers. We ask that the speakers come to the podium and state their name and city of residence. During public comment, I'd like to assure everybody that the city manager, the directors, and the council members and the mayor take these items seriously, and part of the purpose for the form is so that we can follow up with you and give you an answer to your questions after the meeting. So I currently have one request to speak, is all I have right now, but feel free to submit for Mr. Loeb. Good evening, Mr. Loeb.
Kind of gave you, Charles Loeb, Terrace Park, I kind of gave you a little publicity. What's next? The bike race. I really want to talk tonight about the funding of the public safety complex. And I'm glad the mayor kind of mentioned about how much he has an idea and figure about how much it's going to cost to deal with PFAS, because this all adds up on your property taxpayers. I mean, it's maybe just a few dollars here, a few dollars there, but the problem with that is that the amounts, the taxpayers, many of them don't have deep pockets and are already struggling, your property taxpayers. I was thinking about this because I all want you to have it. I saw the picture of the beautiful complex over at the expo yesterday, the business expo yesterday, and I all want you to have this. But there are possibilities, such as, for example, the the state might change the property tax structure. So I was thinking about other ways you might be able to get some of your funding. Now, I stress some of your funding, not all your funding for the public service complex. I already gave the city manager a heads up on this 2 weeks ago. And here's some of the ideas that I came up, several ideas I came up with. I hope in this regard that will at least lessen the burden upon your property taxpayers. Number one would be adding impact fees for areas that are going to benefit mostly by it. Number two would be seeing if Medicare would be willing to pay a little extra surcharge on it for your fire rescue. And number three would be a penny sales tax for people who, like myself, who don't live in Temple Terrace, but who would have to benefit by the use of the benefit, having, on 56th Street, if something happens to me when I go shopping, I'm going to get your fire rescue, not the city of Tampa's. The stuff like this. And I don't know if any of it can be done or not. I do know that I would, I really want to try to think in terms of keeping the property tax holders as much out of it as possible, because they're going to have other expenses. Another expense, of course, obviously coming up beyond the normal would be for the PFAS and other water-related things. And I'm kind of hoping that, we can find some other way to fund at least some of it and make it a little bit easier on your property taxpayers. One other quick point to you all that you all might not know is that what I was told at the Terrace Park board meeting is that the fire station is going to be over near Greco Park, so it might even be closer than some of your residents than yours.
Thank you, Mr. Loeb. Are there other members of the public who wish to address the council at this time? Okay. We will move on to the next item, as it's a resolution approving the City of Temple Terrace Golf and Country Club tree planting plan and implementation schedule. And our city arborist, Joe Ferris, and Jeremy Cooper of Biotech is here to explain. Good evening, Mr. Ferris.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Joe Ferris, city arborist. I'm here tonight along with Jeremy Cooper of Biotech Consulting LLC and Dan Capaz, the president of the golf course, to request your approval for a resolution to adopt the golf course tree planting plan and affirm payment for the plan through the city's tree fund. This project has been a collaboration between Biotech Consulting, Community Development, Public Works, the golf course management, and city manager. In early November 25, staff solicited vendors for proposals to develop a tree assessment planting plan for the golf course. Biotech Consulting was one of 3 firms who responded to our request. Biotech has established a positive relationship with the city of Temple Terrace due to our citywide tree project. Biotech also had the lowest bid, and for that reason, Biotech was selected for this project. This project consists of 2 parts: an overall tree evaluation of the golf course and a planting plan. My tree evaluation identified the current health conditions of the existing trees, confirming the need for removal of 59 trees. The removal of 17 of these trees, determined to be the worst of the worst, were approved by City Council in January of this year. The remaining 42 trees of the original 59, plus the additional 35 identified by Biotech, are planned for removal by the golf course personnel, coordination with the progression of the proposed tree planting plan. At this time, please allow me to introduce Biotech Consulting Manager Jeremy Cooper. Jeremy Cooper is the Director of Arboriculture and Forestry Resources for Biotech Consulting. He is a certified arborist with over a decade of experience in tree inventory, condition assessment, and environmental restoration throughout Florida. Jeremy has a brief presentation explaining the golf course tree planting plan, which we'd like to implement according to the implementation schedule included in your agenda packet. Afterwards, Jeremy, myself, and Dan will be available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. Welcome, Mr. Cooper.
Thank you, Joe. Good evening. My name is Jeremy Cooper. As Joe said, I'm the Director of Arboriculture and Forestry Resources for Biotech Consulting. I wanted to take a minute to just discuss this plan that we went through. We did our best to create a science-based strategy to restore and enhance the golf course with a special emphasis on beautification of the golf course. This presentation will walk you through the scope of the plan, what we're proposing, why we're proposing it, and how it will be implemented. So first, the purpose. The purpose is just to transform the golf course into a safer, more beautiful, and ecologically sustainable environment. We're going to do that through strategic planting, mostly native trees, as well as some management recommendations. The next part of the plan that we developed is 5 phases of planting and removal, guided by the city arborist implementation schedule that he also provided you. And all costs for this plan are going to be done through the Tree Bank Fund upon your approval. So a quick summary, we've established 441 trees to be planted, 94 total to be identified, mostly for safety and health reasons. We've selected 14 different native and ornamental species to be planted. The plan is a 5-year planting plan. Excuse me. And like Joe said, this is going to be a partnership with Public Works for the watering part of it, which is a pretty heavy lift as far as staff time goes. So on the tree removal side of things, as I said, we have 94 trees to remove, 12 for pruning and 1 identified for cabling and bracing to maintain its long-term health. During that 5 phases, we've broken it up and different levels of effort to accommodate different years as far as staff availability, funding availability. We don't necessarily have to go in chronological order in this plan. It's set up to be adaptive based on the ability of the city to implement it at that time. So these are our cycles that we worked with the golf course, Public Works, and Joe Ferris, the city forester. You can see that most of the cycles are approximately the same size. This allows for planting for staffing, or planning for staffing. It allows for planning for tree ordering. But once again, there's flexibility worked into that. After that first year of implementing, as city staff have a good system and maybe they feel like they can take on a little bit more work, there's no reason why we can't push some of these cycles forward a little bit or backward depending on their ability to accomplish the work. So why we've broken it up into the 5 phases or 15 cycles. The watering and establishment is a heavy lift, especially for the first 2 months of the development. 3, 5, 6 times a week you're going to be watering these trees. That's a lot of trees to be taken care of, especially with the size of the golf course. You got to spread out and take care of that. So it was determined that putting it into one phase all at once was going to overwhelm city staff and be beyond their capabilities. The other issue is logistics and procurement. Ordering that amount of trees in that size can be difficult to do. It affects pricing, and you're going to be needing more trucks, more staff, that type of thing. And just in my background, I've seen anytime cities take on these really large restoration projects all at once, we see a reduced survival rate in our trees. That's an investment that you're making in your community. And we just don't want to see any wasted money, any wasted effort into low survival rate of the plants. We've recommended anywhere from 3 to 15 gallons. I think we've established that we're going to go with the 15-gallon size. The reason we're not going bigger is the smaller trees over, typically depending on the species, 5 to 10 years will actually outgrow the larger trees on the long term. Transportation of the plants is a high stress environment, and the younger, smaller trees do a little bit better. 15 gallons is usually 5 inches, 10 feet tall or so, cut off about there. Their roots establish better than transporting these larger trees. So you're going to have trees that are more resilient to wind and storm damage. The cost per tree is exponentially cheaper, typically 10 to 30 times cheaper. And just a better long-term performance, and also less maintenance in the initial watering phase. So species selection was pretty important to us. So we selected species based on individual purpose on where we're putting it. So the red cedars, if you're all familiar with red cedars, they're bushy, they block views. We put those in areas where we have intersections coming in right at T's, right? Give you a little bit of privacy. You don't have cars, lights flashing at you or anything like that. Worked in a couple of live oaks in areas that might, providing shade near restrooms, things like that would be beneficial. And then we tried to bring in some color and some cosmetic beauty with some of our flowering species. And I think this golf course is going to be extremely beautiful during the flowering season, spring, early summer. So the roles and responsibilities, the city arborist is going to source the trees and the supplies and manage the overall implementation of the plan. Golf course personnel will plant and remove trees that are needed to be removed, and Public Works will be in charge of watering these trees. And as I said earlier, the funding sources are going to come from the Tree Bank Fund. Excuse me. So a quick summary. We're putting in 441 trees, 14 species, through 15 cycles over 5 years. We're requesting that we remove 94 trees, almost all for safety reasons, but some of them are not a safety concern, but they're going to die and you're going to have to remove them soon anyways. We're requesting that we do this in the phased approach with the 2-month watering, 2 months of intensive watering, and then we taper off over the next 4 months. And we're requesting that we use nursery grade stock, no more than 15 gallons. So that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions you have for me.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Mr. Loeb.
Just one quick question on this. Are you going to have this on the city's website?
Yes.
Are there other members of the public who wish to comment? Council members' questions? Councilmember Kravitz?
Yeah, thank you very much. Beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
I just for my own understanding here, the implementation is governed in a plan, or is this going to be a specific statute or ordinance that we're going to be developing, or do you have any?
Yeah, there's a full-blown plan that this is just a summary of.
Okay, I understand. Okay, that's great. One more question would be, you mentioned that golf course personnel are going to be responsible for the installation, so that's great. Is there any stopgap foreseen in your plan if they're unable to do that for some reason? Would we be able to support them? Is that anything that you've taken into consideration?
So we've provided all the instructions on how to properly establish them, but if they're not able to accomplish that, I think that you'd have to end up hiring a consultant or contractor. That's not addressed in the plan, though. No, sir.
Got it. Is there a function in your plan to replace a tree that has been planted but has failed to establish?
There is a monitoring component of it to go back and check, but there's not a direct recommendation of if this dies out, then you need to replant it.
So if that is something that we want, so if we plant a tree and it fails, we want to replace that tree with an equivalent tree, then we would need to decide that today as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That's fine. That's no problem at all. You mentioned funding as well in this 5-phase section, so I'm just thinking it through. If we are planting relatively small trees and we have some support from the golf course, is there a concern based on this plan that we would exhaust the tree fund?
Joe, you want to take that one?
No, with this plan as it is, we would not exhaust that tree fund. And we certainly would have the money in those plans to address the question you just had before about if we have one that doesn't make it to survive, certainly can get another and replant that. There's no reason why we wouldn't do that.
Great, yeah. And while you're up here, the removal of the trees, that's also coming from the tree fund?
Yeah, they'll come from the tree fund. That'll be done in the same phases as the cycles. So as we start each cycle, it'll involve, and that goes, coordinates with the plan that Biotech has put together. So those trees in that part of that cycle will be removed, and then we'll plant. So each cycle, you'll see trees coming down, trees going up. The first one will be, we've started with those 17. So if this is all approved tonight, before the end of the month, you'll see the first cycle planted this year in March. The next would be October.
It'll be beautiful, wonderful.
Yeah.
That's very good news. Happy to see it happening as quickly as possible. If you were to just estimate, not asking for any sort of binding figures or anything like that, don't misunderstand me, please. Projecting out over the 5 years, do you have a general idea about how much this would cost?
I do.
Okay.
So based on today's numbers, with the number of the trees, including delivery for each cycle, the tree diapers that we're going to be using to help establish those, they go around the tree, it holds water and it slowly releases. Those have been proven to show survival in trees and limit the amount of watering periods that have to be done. And then mulch for each tree, it's roughly around $60,000.
That's extremely affordable.
And that's based on today's prices. Now, 5 years from now, you know, that could change with cost of trees and things like that. But as of today's prices, we're right around 60,000.
Okay, so that's fantastic news. Really happy to hear that. It sounds to me like then if we run into any issues, for example, the golf course isn't able to execute the plan on account of staffing. If we have tree losses that we need to replace, that we have plenty of headroom in the tree fund to capture that and address those problems as we go ahead so that we don't have to worry about the plan failing on account of any kind of funding shortfall.
Absolutely. In the diverse species that they have proposed, if for some reason 2 or 3 years down the road there's a particular tree that's not available for whatever reason, we do have alternatives that we can choose from that same list.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate it. It's a beautiful plan. Thank you very much for answering my questions.
Sure.
I have a comment, not a question.
Questions?
Can I clarify something while it's still
Yes.
recent? I just want to just make sure for the council edification. So next month, we're going to present, we're planning to come to you with the urban canopy plan. So despite the fact this is $60,000 now for the golf course, I just want to make sure everybody understands. $60,000 doesn't include any labor costs. So we're not charging city staff labor. We're just basically putting that aside. The urban canopy plan, I imagine, will be a little bit more robust in terms of whatever number that is. I don't know what that number is yet, but that'll be presented to you next month. So I just want you to be aware that that's coming as well, because that will also impact the tree fund. I also wanted to clarify something. In terms of the tree removal, we're helping with the tree removal, but the golf course is taking the lead on removing the trees themselves. We are helping in terms of if there's a significantly larger tree that poses more of a risk, we have a bucket truck so we can facilitate that removal. And we're also helping in terms of removing the actual tree debris once it's down. But they're taking the lead on actually removing most of those trees, and we'll continue to do that.
I'm glad you said. I wrote that down to ask you for clarification. So, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. There's a question for, I don't think you, but staff on funding. Can the tree fund pay for water trucks or anything like that, or is that something that we have to absorb ourselves?
We have a water truck now. We have a trailer mount. Where's Jason's probably hiding behind a pole here. I see our shoulders. Yes, we have a trailer. We have a water trailer now, which I imagine we'd use as part of this effort. As Mr. Ferris noted, we're going to be purchasing the water diapers. That will be purchased through the tree fund. So that hopefully that answers your question. So we will purchase.
I guess the question is if we had to rent trucks or something like that or hire a company to help supplement the water trucks, would the tree fund be able to
Yes,
support
my
it?
understanding is it would be. And that would be my recommendation as well. That if
Okay.
we had to do that, we'd charge it to the tree fund.
Okay, and the last thing, since you know that, we touched on it, and 60,000 doesn't sound like a lot of money since with our tree fund, but we have a lot of other obligations. So with the numbers you may know, we're still way good in our tree fund, correct? After
Yes.
all the city obligations for our own properties?
Currently, we are. We're very much in the positive with our tree fund. Just also want to remind folks that our tree fund has been replenished over the years thanks to development, right? Particular large-scale development. And as we slow down with that large-scale development, we may not be getting that much of an influx into the tree fund in large slugs. So I want to make sure everybody understands that. We have a robust balance today. 1.4 million was the last number that I recall. But we're going to have to ride that for a while until, again, if we get some larger development, then I guess that number will change to the positive. But that's something we have to use for both plans, the golf course plan, the urban canopy plan, and then maintenance going forward to keep those trees healthy.
Okay, thank you. No more questions. I have a comment later.
Councilmember Fernandez.
So I want to ask about the ongoing maintenance, specifically for the trees that we're going to be planting on the golf course. Who's responsible, once the tree itself is actually established, to maintain the correct pruning or tree trimming that would be required?
That I believe would be the golf course, and I can assist with any of that as we go along, particularly with the use of these tree diapers. I want to monitor those to see how often we'll have to have Jason's crew out to water those. So it'll be, again, the same kind of collaboration that it's been with my input, along with the golf course with that responsibility, or Public Works with their assistant with the watering.
Okay, and then as far as if a tree that gets planted doesn't survive for some reason, who's responsible for basically selecting the replacement? For example, we might have planted a tree that for whatever reasons, it's just the environment, that specific ecosystem doesn't support that particular tree, I don't know, whatever the reason is. So who's going to actually evaluate what a replacement should be, if it's the exact same type, that tree just didn't make it, or if we decide that it's something else should go there?
That would be myself, based on the list of the trees that they're recommending for the golf course. So I would evaluate that tree, and as you said, maybe we need to do a different species there. So I'd work off that list of trees that you're all going to be approving tonight with that plan.
Okay, and
to be replaced.
one of the comments that I do get is for existing trees that we have in the city that need maybe some sort of maintenance, pruning, trimming, something like that. Does the tree fund, do we use the tree fund to pay for staff time to do that, or is that just part of our ordinary park maintenance, street, landscape maintenance?
Today, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, today we do not use the tree fund for that limited maintenance. I'm sorry. I think when we look at the urban canopy plan and have that adopted, and there's going to be a maintenance component to it, I would imagine, that we'll probably look at that during the budgeting of the city and figure out, okay, now we know there's this maintenance component, attribute a number to it, and then look to use some of those tree fund dollars to offset those costs that are specifically for maintenance. So we'd have to track that in terms of a coding, but I believe that's where we want to be so that we can continue to use those dollars in a wise fashion.
Okay, so then my last question actually has to do with the finances, and that is, right now, the tree fund is essentially, it's a savings account, it's sitting in the bank. Is the interest earned on that commingled in just the full general fund interest revenue available for anything, or is it restricted to just the tree fund?
Hi, Jennifer Newman, Assistant Finance Director. At this moment in time, it is not separated out individually. It is, when we get interest in, it is allocated based on the fund.
Okay, so it's not necessarily, we're not seeing an increase in the tree fund as it's sitting, it's been stationary maybe for a little while, we've added to it.
That is something that we could look at possibly doing the calculations for that, if that is something that the council wants us to do.
Okay, I mean, it's just a thought that into the future, as a way to painlessly replenish the fund as large development projects might decline or decrease. So that's all my questions.
Okay, council, is there a motion?
Move to approve a resolution adopting, approving the City of Temple Terrace Golf Course tree planting plan prepared by Biotech Consulting and the golf course tree planting implementation schedule prepared by the city arborist.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. I had a couple of people said you have comments.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you to staff, to Joe and to Dan and to Russell and everybody that's been involved with this, and to Biotech. I know this is a project that we've worked on for years with when all the laurel oaks were starting to die 5-6 years ago, and I'm glad to see this is coming to fruition. As city manager and the mayor, you had worked with the club and through all their transitions through the years. I'm glad to see this coming together, and I think that the planned phasing over time will help the public. Some of the public was like, oh my God, that's too many trees all at one time. It's planned, it's well thought out. We had the professionals, the pros at Dover, who know what they're doing with this, working on it. The club has buy-in, and I feel certain that you'll have the total city buy-in. And I'm just glad that you guys finally got it done. I appreciate it.
Vice Mayor?
I really can't say any better than that. That's what I was going to say. Again, thank you, Joe, Biotech, Golf and Country Club. It's a great thing that we finally have this tree issue working forward to go. So, thank you.
Other comments?
Yeah.
Councilmember Kravitz?
Really happy to see this as well. Beautiful. Wanted this for a long time, so I'm happy to see it's here now. I'd like 3 items just in the record, City Clerk, so make sure that this is please taken up in the minutes. Thank you. So first of all, I think this is a wonderful initiative. First point is we do need a mechanism to replace the dead and failed trees. And I think going forward, when this is implemented, we can come back to that if we end up experiencing any tree losses. The second point is that we do need a mechanism for outside labor being hired if for whatever reason we end up running into staffing shortfalls or any kind of issues with the golf course, so that we make sure that we can use the funding that we have available in order to support this planting initiative. I don't want to see it fail because we don't have the resources, because we do. We have 1.4 million. The cost of this is 60 million. We could do this 28 times before running out of money. That's, of course, assuming that all the staffing goes smoothly otherwise. And the third point is I'd like to see reporting on this in regular intervals going forward. So when we have these staging and phasing efforts, which are fine, it is important to make sure that they are actually being done. And so I look forward to seeing some reports on how it's going, and especially if for whatever reason it isn't going well, please, please, please bring that so that we can fix it together, because it's very important that this golf course look as beautiful as possible, because it's a wonderful golf course and people should really enjoy playing on it, and the trees are a big part of that, and also they're very important for the community. So thank you very much, everyone, for that. I really appreciate that.
Councilmember Fernandez?
No, I just echo what's already been said.
I just want to give a shout out to the Temple Terrace Golf and Country Club. Mr. Capaz is here with us tonight. This is only possible because of things that the country club has done over the past couple of years to stabilize their financial position and to continue with their debt service to the city, which is really largely due to, well, not largely, it is due to the board that's implemented some, at times, I know, difficult decisions that were maybe not the most popular among some of the members. And so those difficult decisions were made. As a result, the country club is in a financial position now to enable this to go on. We could not have done, well, we could have if we'd have just taken it over. But the country club has some skin in this game. The city has some skin in this game. Everybody, and that collaboration would not have been possible a couple years ago when they were woefully behind in debt to the city. And so thank you, Mr. Capaz, the other board members. Thank you to the members who have been flexible and maybe accepted some things that they didn't really like, and I understand. But it has resulted in a much healthier situation for the residents of the city, the members of the club. And so I just want to thank you and the board for that. And so, okay, if that's it, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays? All right, Mr. Ferris, go cut some trees. Next up, we have a public hearing and first reading of an ordinance amending Land Development Code Section 12-984, permitted signs. And I'll open the public hearing and ask our Community Development Deputy Director, Marissa Robinson, to explain.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Marissa Robinson with Community Development. I'm here to present a proposed text amendment to the city's Land Development Code regarding sign regulation. This amendment pertains to Section 12-984, permitted signs, modifying the matrices 3, 4, 5, and 6. Currently, these matrices limit businesses located on corner lots to only one wall sign. Under the proposed changes, 2 wall signs will be permitted on corner lots, provided that they meet the conditions of footnote X. Footnote X does state that on corner lots, a building occupying the corner may be permitted a second wall sign, provided that each of the 2 wall signs are located on different street-facing facades. Staff is recommending approval on first reading and to schedule the second public hearing and reading for March 17th. Thank you, and I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council members' questions. Councilmember Fernandez.
I just want to confirm for people that are watching. So the only change that we are making at this moment proposed is that if a business is on a corner lot, they can have a sign on facing 56th Street and a sign facing Bullard Parkway, for example. But we're not making any changes whatsoever to the structure of the sign, the size, or any of the other characteristics, correct?
Correct.
Other questions, council members?
I do have one.
Councilmember Kravitz.
Actually, excuse me. I'll roll it into one question. This ordinance does not change any of the lighting or sign sizing rules, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. That's all.
Other questions? If there are no further questions, I will close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
Did you ask for public comment?
I did. But thanks for checking.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending Section 12-984 of the City Code of Ordinances titled Permitted Signs, amending matrices 3, 4, 5, and 6, adding footnote X, providing for severability, providing for correction of typographical errors, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for codification, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Council members, is there a motion?
Move to approve the first reading of an ordinance amending Land Development Code, Section 12-984, permitted signs.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion of the motion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Ordinance is approved on first reading and will appear for a second reading and public hearing on Tuesday, March 17th, 2026. Our next item is the first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 22, Article 6, Solid Waste Collection and Disposal. Our Public Works Director, Jason Warrenfelds, is here to present. Good evening, Mr. Warrenfelds.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, council members. Public Works staff are recommending revisions to Ordinance 1508. These proposed targeted amendments to the Article 6 of the City Code governing solid waste and disposal, solid waste collection and disposal. These updates are administrative and operational in nature. They do not expand core service levels, but modernize, clarify, and strengthen the city's existing regulations. The proposed revisions are defined in the following 5 areas. Number 1, clarify definitions and eliminate redundancies, updating and consolidating definitions to remove duplication and inconsistent terminology. Key terms such as construction and demolition material, class 3 material, hazardous and biohazardous waste, bulk items, yard waste, annual pickup, and special pickup are clearly defined to reduce ambiguity and improve consistency. The second one is distinguish residential waste from commercial and contractor waste. The revisions separate residential solid waste from commercially generated or contractor generated debris. This ensures that residential services are not used for materials exceeding standard service levels and that appropriate container size services are required when applicable. The third area is formalize annual and special pickup policies. The ordinance clarifies the eligibility requirements for the 1 free annual pickup and outlines standards for fee-based special pickups. It also addresses nuisance conditions caused by unscheduled curb placement of large items. And number 4 is align code language with current operations. The amendments update container specifications, service parameters, permitting requirements for private haulers. These changes ensure code accuracy and reflects how services are delivered today. And the last one, strengthen public health and safety. The revisions enforce prohibitions on hazardous and biohazardous materials, clarify disposal requirements by promoting regulatory compliance. These amendments improve, clarify, to clarify, and enhance the city's ability to effectively administer and enforce its solid waste program. Approval of Ordinance 1508. Revisions, Article 6 will provide a clear guidance to the residents, contractors, and city staff. Recommend approval on first reading and schedule the second reading on March 17th.
Thank you, Mr. Warrenfield. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council members' questions. Councilmember Kravitz?
Just a quick one. I saw that this allows changes to pickup days, but that doesn't mean frequency, right?
Correct.
Okay, thanks. That's all. Yeah.
Questions, Councilmember Fernandez?
I have a question for you about the consistency of the language with our nearby jurisdictions. For example, if you're a contractor, you might work in multiple jurisdictions. Did we look at how we're referring to things or how we're defining terms amongst some of the nearby jurisdictions to see that we're not confusing?
Correct. And that's part of how this started. So some of the language in there used terms that were not consistent among the region, particularly, and I will say as an old school garbage person, I, in my interview, used terms that were outdated for this area. So these revisions help clarify some of that.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? No. Okay, if there are no further questions, I will close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending Chapter 22 of the City of Temple Terrace Code of Ordinances, Utilities, Article 6, Solid Waste Collection and Disposal by amending Section 22-336, Definitions, retitling and renaming Section 22-337, Collection of Construction, Demolition, and Class 3 Material by Ordinary Services, amending Section 22-338, Collection by City, amending Section 22-339, Collection supervised by Director of Public Works, appeal to City Manager, amending Section 22-340, Collection practices for residential solid waste, amending Section 22-341, Collection practices for yard waste, renaming and amending Section 22-342, Special Annual Pickups, amending Section 22-343, Collection Practices for Residential Recyclables, amending Section 22-344, Collection Practices for Commercial Collection, by renaming and amending Section 22-345, Storage of Solid Waste, Trash, Recyclables, and Yard Debris, renaming and amending Section 22-346, Disposal of Dangerous, Hazardous Waste, amending Section 22-347, Service by Private Hauler Contractors, providing for severability, directing for the codification of the amendments, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. You want me to pass the water down to you? Council members, is there a motion?
Move to approve an ordinance on first reading, amending Chapter 22, Article 6, Solid Waste Collection and Disposal, and to schedule public hearing and second reading for March 17th, 2026.
Motion second. Discussion of the motion. Okay, if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Ordinances adopted on first reading will appear for a second reading and public hearing on Tuesday, March 17th, 2026. Next item is a resolution approving an expenditure of $14,140 with P&M Communications Contractors for the replacement of water service lines along West River Drive. And our Public Works Director, Jason Warrenfield, is here once again to present.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Public Works Utilities is requesting approval of a resolution authorizing the expenditure of $14,140 with P&M Communications Contractors Incorporated for the replacement of water lines along West River Drive. This project will reroute service connections from an aged distribution line to a newer, larger line, allowing staff to abandon the aged problematic pipe that caused our residents issues at the beginning of the year. The pipe that will be abandoned does not have the needed valves to reduce the impact in the event of a failure. During this contracted work, city staff will be working alongside the contractors, completing additional connections simultaneously. This line has shown signs of deterioration associated with its age. Relocating the connections will help reduce the likelihood of service interruptions, water loss, and emergency repairs. Staff recommends utilizing a piggyback agreement based on competitively awarded contract established with the City of Winter Haven. The project scope includes removal of existing service lines, installation of new water service connections that meet current standards, restoration of the areas impacted during the construction. All work will be completed in accordance with the city's specifications and utility requirements. Approval of this resolution supports the city's ongoing commitment of maintaining a reliable infrastructure. Staff recommends approval of this resolution, authorizing this expenditure and establishing an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Warrenfeld. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Will this work trigger a boil water notice?
It is not intended to. This work will be simply switching residential connections from one pipe to another. So those lines will be, there'll be new service lines. They'll be cleaned and tested, or cleaned and sanitized before use. So boil water notice will not be in effect.
And I'm sure we're going to notify the residents around the area. Yeah, all right. Thank
Prior
you.
to, yes.
Councilmember Fernandez.
What exactly, when I read this, it seemed like this contract is primarily providing ground penetrating radar services to show you where the lines are, but then we, the city staff, would actually be doing a lot of the actual labor to put the lines in. Is that correct?
Sort of. So P&M Contracting will be doing the shooting the bullet. Essentially, they'll be shooting the under the roadway for 14 homes in the West River area. So once they go under the road, that is the time-consuming piece to obviously locate the current infrastructure, shoot the bullet under the road. They will insert a conduit for us to run the pipes, and then city staff will be working alongside them, making the connections as they go.
Okay. So basically, you're going to be doing things almost at the same time.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, and that's the reason it's $14,000. If we were to outsource this entire job, it's much higher than that.
That's what I was wondering. Yep. Okay, so we've seen some water delivery issues with aging infrastructure. Is this something then that you're adding to your analysis of the ongoing maintenance schedule requirements that we're, looking at and creating?
Yes. So obviously the West River area presented a problem at the beginning of this year. Through some engineering staff's help with utility staff here, there's pipes down there that have been identified to have the same age to them. So we're working through the process to determine what's best. Replace it, move them to another line. There's additional infrastructure down there that is newer. This is step one, particularly in this sensitive area. If we move these homes off of that age pipe that we know we had significant problems with, step one, then we progressively keep going through it.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? Councilmember Kravitz.
I think you deserve a shout out because don't the funds for this come from savings on a different project?
It can, yes. There was some funding savings off of the last Bannockburn project. So, yep, this will not have, it's budget neutral at this point, so, yep.
Excellent. And the other question, have you worked with these guys before?
So one of my staff members have. I have not personally, but one of my staff members have.
They're good?
Came recommended.
Awesome. Great, that's all. Thanks.
I have one question. So I know this is a bit of a high-profile job, but isn't $14,000 project doesn't normally come before council?
So I recommended this be placed on the council agenda for a couple of reasons. First, it wasn't a budgeted expense, although we are using savings from the Bonnie Bray construction project. But primarily because this was a very important issue to the community, particularly residents about West River. They were disrupted multiple times because of this particular line. We wanted to make sure that the community got to see this happening here this evening in public, and we'll see the recordings of it. We'll get the word out as well, but we felt that more communication would be better in this instance.
I suspected that, but I wondered when I saw the amount. In fact, I thought it was a typo when I was reading so usually when you're up here, it's a lot more than $14,000, so.
Trying to change my way.
I thought maybe somebody had left a zero off. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Warren Phillips? Okay, if there are no further questions, is there a motion?
Move to approve the expenditure of $14,140 with P&M Communication Contractors to relocate service lines along West Woodward Drive.
Second. Motion is second. Discussion of the motion?
Just thank you.
Yes.
If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Thank you, Mr. Warren Phillips. Resolution is adopted. Is there any carryover council business? Councilmember Fernandez.
So I understand that Spectrum, so we have our city channels on cable, Spectrum and Frontier. But if you don't use one of the boxes and you go through the streaming service and you have Spectrum, you cannot watch, there is no channel to watch city meetings or city information. And I know I'd asked you about this a while ago, and I wanted to see if you had an update about what Spectrum said and getting that resolved.
If you'll allow me, I'll report back to you at the next meeting, if that's okay. I'll get you an update.
Yep. And then my only other item, I guess it might kind of be new business, but that's that the utility payment system was down. And understand it wasn't a specific city issue, that it was down from multiple applications. But for people that weren't able to pay their utility bills on the schedule they anticipated, and now they're late, are we waiving any kind of late fee?
So, yes, let me walk through it with everybody for the community's perspective as well. So what happened is we have a third-party processor that handles our online credit card payments as well as our phone credit card payment system. And that processor had an outage. They're a national company, and there were hundreds of utilities or companies like us, basically, that were impacted. Our staff worked tirelessly throughout this period trying to figure out ways to come up with solutions. Last week, after a lot of effort, they were able to find an alternative solution so that residents today can pay their bills online. So they can go online with a credit card and pay. The site will probably look a little different than the older site we used to have with the prior company, but we've put word out about that, and that's in effect right now. They will not be able to use the phone system. We don't have a phone system in this interim solution. I say this is an interim solution because, as council knows, we've been working on going live with the Enterprise Resource Planning System, the ERP, in November. And I want everybody to understand as well, this interim solution that we have requires staff to do manual entry. So when people are paying these things, this is not automatically going through because it would be nearly impossible to integrate with our archaic system we have today, and there really wouldn't be a point because it would take so long to do that. By the time you got it to any kind of semblance of working, you'd be in November. And so they're doing this, but it's still a lot more work than it was, but they're working through those issues. As far as the late fees, we've had a lot of discussions with the staff. We are looking at a possibility where we could do that. There were two bill cycles that were impacted. And we've been talking with Ms. Torres, the utility billing manager, about working through it. If we can find a way to do it that will be efficient, because one of the things we had a concern about is if we had to refund or credit accounts, there could be 2,000 accounts that we'd have to credit. And if we had to do it manually, that would be much more of a chore. She's found some information that looks like we might be able to do it in an automated fashion. But she has to run tests on that because it's through our existing ERP system, which I just mentioned has some issues, so we want to make sure that runs well. But our intention is if we can do that, that's what we'd like to do, is to provide a credit for these two cycles, recognizing that not everybody was late because of this, but we really don't have a way to discern that without an extensive amount of homework. So that's our intention. Once we know for a fact, we'll report this to City Council.
Okay, thank you.
Other council business, Councilmember Kravitz.
I have one thing. So this is about the CRA meeting that was canceled today, so I'm going to treat that as carryover business because we've talked about downtown previously. I'd just really like to see us using those CRA meetings as an opportunity, and I was a little bit surprised to see it canceled. because by far it's the most important issue to people in the city. There are a number of things that I would like to discuss. So I'd just like to encourage for any of the future CRA meetings that any of the 5 things that I'm going to read off real quick would be considered as part of the agenda that we could potentially put in there. So one of them is, of course, the Enigma Plaza situation and the south parcel there. If we could maybe approach the developer, if that's something we're interested in doing, to offer him that south parcel for sale because he might be interested in it still. There's the integration of Riverside Park into the downtown pedestrian zone. There's continuing more food truck events into the future to activate the downtown space. There's also ongoing issues with maintenance and cleanliness, not necessarily of the areas where we've installed trash cans now, but in some of the plazas where there are now empties. So those are some things that we could all discuss at the next CRA meeting. And also marketing the other parcels that have not yet been sold and what role the social media group that we have might play a role in that. Maybe they could support the marketing of those parcels. Those are all topics that I'd love to see on the agenda, and I think that would be a great topic for the next CRA meeting. So I'm just putting it out there. Next time there's nothing on the agenda for a CRA meeting, pick any one of those, and I'd love to talk about it. So that's all.
Just to clarify, Councilmember Kravitz, the CRA meeting was, I believe it's scheduled for March 17th.
Yeah.
So it wasn't be tonight, but it's going to be at the next meeting.
Sorry about which date, but in any case, it's unfortunate that it was canceled. So
yep.
Yeah, my broader point is.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Other council business?
I have one item.
Yes, Councilmember Kravitz.
So I just wanted to direct this to the city attorney. I'm curious about a couple of the outstanding issues that we have with the city and its litigation. So one of them is, of course, the PFAS litigation that we've hired outside counsel for. It's been quite some time since we've received an update. And I'd be very curious to know what is going on there. Another one is the Florida DEP consent order. So some time ago in the council update, I think it was November 21st, we had some in-kind projects that were supposed to offset a penalty, and the city decided to appeal it, if I'm not mistaken. So I'd love to know whether the appeal was resolved in either direction. Then we had a constitutional challenge to Hillsborough County's solicitation and public right-of-way ordinance. I think that was also something which was brought up previously, but which has not been addressed. And then we also had a open carry of long guns issue at city council meetings that was subject of a multi-jurisdictional meeting with police chiefs, city attorneys, and state attorney. This is also another thing that I was curious about because we have not been briefed on any of those things. So I emailed all of these things to you on the 4th of February, and I requested an update by the end of February, but we're now in March and no update has been received, and I didn't get a response to my email either. So please don't brief me right now, but it would be wonderful if in the future we would receive regular briefings about all of these issues that are outstanding because they are very important to the city, and I think we deserve to be kept abreast of them. Thank you. That's all.
How long is all that going to take?
I can actually brief on a few of these right now. I was prepared to talk about a couple of them. If
Your microphone.
I'm actually prepared to answer a few of these now because I was prepared to talk about it here.
Well, the rest of us would like to hear the answers that you can provide, but I'm just, okay.
With regard to the PFAS situation, we have one deadline coming up March 31st. That is for the reimbursement of all the testing that we did. We are setting up a meeting with our outside counsel to go through that and then be ready to for that to sign off on that, to get our application in. We'll have the city manager be the one that'll sign that when the time comes. And then we have the actual big money settlement. That deadline is July 31st. So that's coming up, and we'll be prepping for that. And then immediately following that will be the special needs reimbursement. That's in August. So we're working on all those things. We're getting ready to meet those deadlines. The other one was the Florida DEP. What was asked was whether there was a finding of a lack of good faith after discovery, and that was the part that we appealed on, and they did rescind that. There was no finding of a lack
good faith after the discovery of the spill. The constitutional challenge to the Hillsborough County solicitation in the public right-of-way ordinance, that litigation is still ongoing, but it's close to being done. And in fact, tomorrow, the county commission will be hearing a first reading of a new solicitation in the right-of-way ordinance. And the last one was the open carry of long guns. To my knowledge, that hole has not been filled yet, so we're still, I believe, monitoring that situation as far as within our city council meetings and just overall. But that hole of long guns has not been filled. And that's the end of my report.
Okay. Follow up?
Thank you very much for the briefing. It's unfortunate that these things don't come on their own. So I had to send an email, and obviously you must have prepared based on the email, because it's nice that you're briefing us now on this. So thank you very much for that. I do appreciate it. And in the future, the city attorney's report is part of the agenda. So, I'd like to see whenever there's information relating to any of these issues that the city has outstanding, that it's brought forward without there having to be a prompt, if that's possible. That's all.
New business and board reports. Any new business and board reports or board reports? Okay. Seeing none, city manager.
Mr. Mayor, I have nothing this evening.
City attorney.
Nothing further.
Very good. Is there anything else to come before the board? If not, we will be adjourned.